that hate breeds hate. And our foreign policy has been to go into countries that aren't waging war with us and go and completely annihilate them.
Afghanistan?
Yes, no, but Afghanistan itself as a country did not wage war with us.
No, it allowed terrorists to breed there,
No,
as
but
did Mr. Hussein.
that's not waging war with us. That's something completely different. No, I'm sorry.
They train.
DouglasMurray obliterates the woke left, leaving their arguments in utter shambles. In this fiery exchange, Murray goes on the offensive, exposing the empty rhetoric and contradictions fueling woke ideology. Armed with undeniable facts and his trademark wit, he dismantles the victimhood obsession and hypocrisy of cancelled culture, leaving his opponents speechless.
Has the UK become a terrorist target because of its culture or because of the actions of its government abroad?
DouglasMurray.
Well, I'd first of all say absolutely not to do with our actions abroad, but put that in with one rider. If it were the case that because of our foreign policy people think they have the right to blow up people going to nightclubs and to blow up those fleeing from the first blast, as seems to be the case, then I'd say you have a choice in front of you. Much like the choice we had a few weeks ago over whether or not Britain, the British state, has the right to decide who gets knighthoods, or whether crowds in Pakistan who burn books they can't read have that right. And we have the same choice now, which is whether or not British foreign policy will be run by the British government in the interests of the British state, which I think is the case, or whether or not we just allow other people who let off bombs here or in Baghdad or anyone else who want to terrorize us, whether we allow them to run our foreign policy. That's the choice before us.
But what's your answer to the question? The cause of the terror
is that the cause of the terror is Islamist fundamentalism, which is a version of Islam, a politicized version of Islam, which is wreaking havoc across the globe and has been doing so for many years, and which was aiming to attack this country and our allies before the invasion of Iraq, before the invasion of Afghanistan, and indeed even before 9/11. That is the truth.
Murray acknowledges that his position highlights a broader debate. On one side, some believe that foreign policy, particularly in the Middle East, contributes to terrorism by fueling resentment. On the other side, like Murray, others argue that terrorism is driven more by extremist ideologies independent of Western actions. Both views have merit in understanding the complex dynamics of global terrorism, and the challenge lies in addressing both ideological extremism and the grievances stemming from foreign interventions in a balanced way.
I think that there can never be any justification for the use of violence against civilians, and I think we need to make that point very clear, and I'm sure all of you in this room would agree with me on that. But there are two separate issues that you asked. Is the culture issue that you raised. I think there is a concern about culture in this country. I think that it's a concern about what it means for us to be a British people today, and whether we're comfortable about our identities. And certainly my role as Minister for Community Cohesion, I will be looking at ways in which we as British people have ease within each other rather than feeling uncomfortable, which I understand that some communities are. In terms of foreign policy, I think it's quite right for us to raise legitimate concerns about our foreign policy, but I don't think it's right to make that link then to say, well, because of that, people have the right to come and wreak violence in our country.
But hang on, nobody was... you promoted yourself to minister. I think you meant shadow minister.
Shadow minister.
Yes, not quite there yet, no. A little way to go. But the question was whether we're a target because of the actions of the government, not whether that legitimizes terrorism. Mm-hmm. Isn't that right, Tom Johnson? Where's Tom Johnson? Yes.
Yeah, and I'd say to Douglas, I mean, I agree, fundamentalism is bad. I think we're pretty much all agreed on that. But you didn't really answer the question of why fundamentalists turn on this country specifically as a target.
Because they hate this country, and they hate our allies, and they hate the West. And if you don't believe me, listen. At least do them the decency of listening to what they say themselves. Read the Hamas Charter. Read what Mr. Bin Laden says. Read what the Muslim Brotherhood would do in this country. Read it and believe them.
Sayeeda, a Muslim woman on the panel, and the young man raised concerns that Murray's focus on Islamist fundamentalism does not fully address the reasons why these extremists target the UK specifically. While agreeing that fundamentalism is harmful, they suggest other factors, such as foreign policy decisions, may influence attacks on the country. Murray counters by emphasizing that extremists attack the UK because they fundamentally oppose Western values, urging people to listen to what extremists say about their motivations. This debate centers on two key points. One is that terrorism stems from opposition to Western foreign policy, while others, like Murray, assert that it's driven primarily by ideological hatred of the West. Both positions reflect different approaches to understanding and addressing the root causes of terrorism.
Hold on, I'll come to you in a moment. Davina.
Well, as a sort of non-political person, I would have to say that I feel that that's twaddle, because actually... I haven't read the Hamas Charter, and I wouldn't imagine many people here have, but it does seem that hate breeds hate. And our foreign policy has been to go into countries that aren't waging war with us and go and completely annihilate them.
Afghanistan?
Yes, no, but Afghanistan itself as a country did not wage war with us.
No, it allowed terrorists to breed there,
no,
as did Mr.
that's
Hussein.
not waging war with us. That's something completely different. No, I'm sorry.
They train. A state which allows training camps, from which training camps they come and attack us in our cities in London, New York and Washington. That matters.
How would you feel about diplomacy? Or is that a swear word in your book? Okay. Wouldn't it be better, rather than just going and sort of bombing everybody, and our foreign policy, being a complete laughingstock? Well, there is jihad as well, but surely it's hate breeding hate. Okay. And at some point, somebody's got to turn around and say, come on, let's all sort of take
the woman in green there.
I think we have to look at the issue of where does fundamentalism come from. I mean, throughout history, it's always been shown that wherever there's poverty, and basically we've waded into Iraq and Afghanistan and desecrated their homeland and ruined their lives. So no wonder they're turning to these options, because we've taken away their livelihood.
So you think it's the war? Absolutely. All right,
Attributing terrorism solely to ideological hatred overlooks the impact of Western foreign policy. Military interventions in countries like Afghanistan and Iraq may have created resentment and instability, fueling radicalization by destroying livelihoods and destabilizing societies. Davina's argument suggests that this cycle of violence, where hate breeds hate, could be mitigated through diplomacy and addressing root causes like poverty and disenfranchisement. Instead of focusing on military solutions, nonviolent approaches could reduce extremism by promoting long-term stability and understanding.
Are British troops in Iraq there for military reasons? Because there's only 5,000 of them, and I don't think they can fight against 100,000 or 150,000 Mahdi army people. I don't think they're there for military reasons.
DouglasMurray, then Charlie.
Well, first of all, we're there for as long as the Iraqi government wants us to be there, which is until the area that they're in is secure, and I think we have to abide by that obligation. Two things. First of all, Ms. McCall referred to that not having read the Hamas Charter. If you are going to comment on this, you could at least do the people who desire to kill you the decency of trusting their word. And I can tell you that if the people who are attempting to bomb London and Glasgow and are currently wreaking havoc in Baghdad and across the world, if they had their way, I can assure you your own career wouldn't be going the way it is. You wouldn't be the woman you are. You wouldn't be allowed to do what you do in this country. That is the same, and that is the same for everyone in this room. And you should not be, and you should not take that for granted. And one other thing, I should just add to that. There's been a lot of cynicism in this room about this already tonight. But our troops in Iraq did not only go into Iraq for one reason. The people of Iraq had been living under a totalitarian dictatorship for decades, and many people thought that that was our fault. We get blamed when we intervene and when we don't. It was the same in the Balkans. We get blamed when we intervene and when we don't. If you...
Okay, Douglas. All right. Davina McCall.
I agree that there was a dictatorship in Iraq before we went in, but this dictator, although he was an extremely bad man, did seem to hold the country together in some way. That now that we've gone in, there is complete civil war in the country.
But the question is about terrorism in Britain and the cause of it.
The cause was that it has been exacerbated by our foreign policy, and what we need now is a quick withdrawal from Iraq, to settle it down, quickly withdraw, and I would like a public inquiry, please.
The removal of Saddam Hussein, while ending a brutal dictatorship, destabilized Iraq and created a power vacuum which led to a violent civil war and worsened terrorism globally. Davina's point highlights that foreign interventions, particularly the invasion of Iraq, did not bring stability, but instead intensified conflict and regional unrest. This instability arguably contributed to the rise of groups like ISIS and has exacerbated terrorism threats in the West. A quick withdrawal, coupled with a public inquiry into the war's impact, could help address the long-term consequences of military intervention.
I have to take issue with a lot of what Douglas has to say, because we can look at the cause of it, or we can actually say this is a problem that we have here right now, like Ed has said, and how are we going to move forward? And I think the use of the language that you use, Douglas, actually makes it worse, and it makes communities in this country. It makes communities in this country feel as if somehow they're outside the big tent of Britain, and that creates more resentment, which creates bad community cohesion, which means we will never win the hearts and minds to defeat terrorism.
Were you opposed to the war?
Yes, I was.
You were, and remain? I mean, you still feel it was a mistake?
My views about the war are very, very clear, and I think it was a mistake.
And you agree that attacks on our troops are absolutely reprehensible?
No, I don't. Douglas, you know, you kind of make these links.
Ed Miliband.
You make these links.
Ed Miliband, Davina McCall says there should be an inquiry into why the war happened. Do you think there should be an inquiry?
I think there will come a time when we need to find a way of learning lessons, not in my view when the troops are still there, because I think the concentration has to be on the work the troops are doing to actually train the Iraqi army, to the gentleman who asked the question, in order that they can patrol Iraq as best they can.
Saeeda's argument suggests that his approach, including the language he uses, may exacerbate tensions and alienate communities within Britain, which hinders effective counter-terrorism efforts. By framing the issue in a way that could marginalize certain groups, it risks worsening community cohesion and making integration more challenging. Furthermore, Saeeda emphasizes that the war in Iraq, which Douglas defends, was a mistake, and that the focus should be on learning lessons from past interventions rather than continuing to justify them. This perspective argues that addressing the root causes of resentment and fostering better community relations are crucial for winning hearts and minds, both domestically and globally.
How do you expect to win the hearts and minds of the Iraqi people and people across the world when it's come out today that one of the main reasons Australia went to war in Iraq was for oil?
That hasn't come out today. That hasn't come out today, sir. The war was not about oil. If it were, we wouldn't have spent all these billions of dollars in lives and blood and treasure. It was not done for oil. We could have got oil by doing a deal with Saddam like Monsieur Chirac did.
Okay, let's move on. Right, I'm moving on to another question. A quarter of our time's already gone. Richard Martin, please.
Is the live Earth concert an effective way to raise awareness on climate change, or just celebrity hysteria?
This is the series of 7 concerts taking place at the weekend, Live Earth. Davina McCall, is it hysteria, or is it a serious way of raising awareness?
I sort of feel that there are a lot of concerts happening at the moment. Last weekend we had Diana, and then we had Live 8 a couple of years ago, or last year. And my feeling is that we're sort of diluting the power of having a massive concert. However, raising the idea of climate change and the problems that we have is a good thing, but is anything really going to happen? Actually, what we need, I think, is a bit of kind of government leadership to show us what to do. We're all sort of doing our little bits here and there, and we need packaging in supermarkets to go down. We need sort of clear action, not a concert.
A debate over the effectiveness of large-scale events like the Live Earth concert in raising awareness about climate change. Douglas argues against the notion that such events are driven by ulterior motives, like oil interests, and instead emphasizes their role in bringing attention to serious issues. Davina, on the other hand, expresses skepticism about the impact of these concerts, suggesting that they might dilute the message, and that more concrete actions, such as government leadership and policy changes, are needed. A neutral comment would acknowledge that while celebrity-driven events can raise awareness, their effectiveness is often debated, and they are often seen as part of a broader strategy that should include tangible policy measures and systemic changes to address issues like climate change.
Do you not think, I mean, it's all very well saying that the Band-Aid concert was very effective, but do you not think that the more concerts we do, the more it's beginning to hide the actual cause behind them?
Yeah, and I think there is a problem of that, kind of becoming tired of it, oh, this is another concert about another cause. But I think right now, if it's going to raise awareness, and there's no harm being done by that, and a lot of people are going to get together and enjoy themselves, then so be it.
56% of people, according to a Murray poll today, still believe the experts are divided on whether it's human activity that is warming the planet anyway. So the issue is in dispute in the public mind.
Well, I think that's just an excuse by people to not do their recycling because they read somewhere that, 10% of scientists say that it's not down to us, so I'm not going to bother this week. But actually, everybody's got to make a concerted effort.
You mean everybody's got to agree with you?
Yes.
Why?
Because I'm right.
DouglasMurray.
Well, I don't want to make the lady in the fifth row unpopular by agreeing with her, but it is the case. I think this is just another concert. And look, it's no coincidence that there have been so many concerts in good causes. Look, never before has good work been so much fun. It's no surprise that it's concerts that keep on happening. People get to feel they're doing their bit. I'm fighting global warming. I've bought a ticket. I sent a text message to make poverty history. And you feel better about yourself. But it's not enough.
Do you believe in global warming as caused by man? That's the point. Is it a cut and dried issue? Because poverty in Africa was a cut and dried issue. They wanted to draw attention to it.
This isn't a cut and dry issue. And is global warming happening? I think it is. But is this due to human agency, and can we change that? I'm not sure that we can. Okay. There seems to be a universal idea that it's otherwise.
Critically examines the effectiveness of concerts and celebrity-driven events in addressing global issues like climate change. Saida argues that repeated concerts may dilute the impact and overshadow the real causes behind these events, while Davina acknowledges their role in raising awareness but calls for more substantive actions, like government leadership, to address climate change. DouglasMurray suggests that while such events can provide a sense of participation and satisfaction, they might not be sufficient to tackle complex issues like global warming. A neutral opinion would recognize that while these events can help raise awareness and foster public engagement, they should be complemented by concrete actions and policy changes to address the underlying issues effectively. In this fiery debate, DouglasMurray fiercely defends his stance, claiming that ideological hatred, not Western actions, fuels terrorism, while Davina and Saida hit back hard, pointing to the Iraq War and foreign interventions as catalysts for extremism and community division. The clash intensifies as they debate climate change activism. Murray dismisses celebrity-driven concerts as feel-good gestures, while Davina and Saida demand real leadership and bold action. This energetic exchange spotlights the battle between conviction and nuance, with each side pushing for the solution to global crises like terrorism and climate change. If you enjoyed this intense debate and want to see more fiery discussions like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Join the conversation by leaving your thoughts in the comments below. What side do you stand on?